Hello, hello. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Um, Welcome. Today is May 18, 2026. I made this video early in the afternoon, so it was around, I believe, 1 or 2 p.m. So today I'm going to be taking a deep, comprehensive look at Kevin Warsh, the nominee to be the next chair of the Federal Reserve Bank. Who is, how he got here, and what his policy views suggest, how the markets might react, and what his leadership could mean for the US economy and global finance. I mentioned about this yesterday, but I touched mostly on the Federal Chair, Jerome Powell, and today I just want to go ahead and talk about the new elected Kevin Walsh. He won't start his mandate until June, but this month is going to be a transition. I also noticed that when I do voiceover, my videos do look really, really good. So I am grateful for it, and I might be doing this for almost all my videos that I make with my glasses. Over the next 30 minutes, I will examine Walsh's background, career, philosophy on monetary policy, likely prioritizes as Fed chair, potential challenges, and the political and market implications of his nomination. First, I will describe his early life and education. Kevin Walsh, pronounced as Warsh or Warsh, was born in 1970 and raised in a suburban environment that emphasized education and public service. He attended Stanford University for his undergraduate degree, graduating with high honors where he studied economics and developed an early interest in financial markets. He then earned a JD from Harvard Law School, which gave him a firm ground in law and policy. These academic credentials established Walsh as someone with both analytical rigor and an understanding of legal frameworks, an important foundation for someone who would later interpret status governing the Federal Reserve and navigate complex regulatory environments. Walsh began his professional career in investment banking and finance, working at Morgan Stanley, where he gained practical experience in the markets, corporate finance, and mechanics of global capital flows. That market side background is distinct from many central bankers who come primarily from academia or central banking institutions. Wash's transition to public service began when he joined Bush administration, serving as a senior economic advisor and then as a member of the White House staff focused on economic policy. So clearly, both Wash and Jerome they served under George W. Bush, which is a good thing, even though they both came to split under Barack Obama. This blending of private sector market experience and government policy work positioned him as a programmatic policymaker comfortable at the intersection of markets and government. I highly recommend everybody to, before you go to the government, work in the private sector first. I see folks who go from public sector to private sector, they have a hard time, transitioning, and also see folks who never worked in private sector before, never worked in the government, never worked in private sector before. They go to government and they make really, really terrible policies. I always recommend starting from the private, get see how things done, especially in the United States. private is very pressured. Companies do pressure employees. There's much pressure. There's much metrics, right? And when you have experience from the private sector, when you go to government, things become much easier. You know the ins and outs, and you can easily navigate the policies within the government institutions. So I highly recommend everyone to start from the private sector before you go to government. Something as simple as working in a warehouse or working in a bank or working in McDonald's. It could be anything that has to do with private sector before you jump into starting a career in the government. All right. Um, Especially living in DC, I have noticed many folks who never actually worked in the private sector their whole life. They either been in academia or they came from academia to government. There is a whole new life of working in the private where profit is prioritized. So anyway, Warsh was appointed the Federal Reserve Board of Governors in the late 2000s, a period marked by the global financial crisis and extraordinary policy responses. During this time, also, US was getting into dot-com boom. So my hope is that this Kevin Walsh will understand the new boom of AI because this time he understood the implications and he probably had new ways of navigating the economy at the time. During his tenure on the board, he was involved in high-stakes decisions about emergency lending facilities and unconventional monetary policies like quantitative easing and regulatory reforms aimed at stabilizing the banking system. His experience during the crisis gave him first-hand exposure to the Fed's crisis management toolkit, its coordination with the physical authorities, and the political scrutiny those actions attract. So this is 2000s, and I don't know if the economy at the time was great or bad, but I know for the fact that the US was transitioning to new things. There was new rules, new regulations. There was terrorism going on. There was 9/11. So it's like where we are right now, right? It's like where we are right now. That has changed really, and I think these guys understand. They have been through these transitions. They have been through these changes. However, he's like very young. Like he was born, unlike Jerome. Jerome was born in 1950s. I mentioned about this yesterday. He was born in 1958, I believe. Um, Kevin Walsh was born in 1970s, so he's about the same age as my mom, right? Because yeah, about as much as mom. So this guy is like qualified to be my parent, and you know, he doesn't understand the financial crisis of 2007, which there was a global oil crisis at the time. Um, but he might have a new perspective, he might have a new understanding, and his age of 50 years old, he understands the housing market. Many young people, middle-aged people between the age of 50 and 40, they are struggling to secure mortgages, secure loans. They cannot pay back their student loans, right? And the children they have, like myself, as I could be his child. We also don't know the future, right? We are in our 30s and we don't know like what's next. But I think him coming up is going to be a game changer for the new generation, and I think it's going to prioritize mostly these working class, working folks. So hopefully it's going to have something to do with this. I have big, hope for him. His policy, philosophy, and views are very They are not different from others. They're not strange from others. Warsh's policy philosophy is often characterized as a market-aware and skeptical of overly loose monetary policy that risks inflation or financial imbalances. He tends to emphasize the importance of price stability, long-term growth, and risks posed by prolonged low interest rates. These including asset, asset bubbles and distortions in credit allocation. At the same time, he understands operational realities. He recognizes the limits of monetary policy to solve structural problems like income inequality. Very, very, very huge problem here. Again, we have a huge problem in income inequality right now. We have more billionaires, more rich people, then we have layoffs, massive layoffs. So huge problem here that he needs to tackle. All right. Um, Supply side constraints, which we have no. So when there's a low supply, when there is a low supply side, for example, we have enough housing, like California, New York City, they are going through a radical change because of the low supply of houses, jobs, right? Opportunities are nowhere to be seen. So there needs to be a high supply of these uh, things, services. All right. So I hope he's gonna look at this and work on it. The expert, they expect him to favor clear communication, just like Jerome, rule-based frameworks where feasible, and the cautious use of unconventional tools. He has also spoken about the importance of physical policy in addressing structural issues. He is signaling a Fed chair who may push for clear physical monetary coordination without overstepping the Fed's independence. This is how we do this. But under Trump, in the next 3 years, I think Trump may pressure him to do what he wants than being independent. He has a very unique views on inflation and interest rate. Given recent inflation dynamics and a tightening cycle in the years leading up to his nomination, which was today, actually this month, Warsh is likely to prioritize a credible path back to 2% inflation. Yes, 2% inflation. I am a big advocate for 2% inflation, and I understand there is a debate around whether this is feasible. The high prices of goods, but we need 2% inflation, at least 2% and 250%, but we should not have uh, you know 3% is really really high. So I really advocate for 2%. So I align with him here. That could mean a willingness to keep policy restrictive longer than markets anticipate to avoid inflation expectations becoming anchored. However, his market experience may also make him attentive to financial market signals. A broad tightening risks market disruptions, while doing too little risks higher inflation and wage price spillovers. In practice, this balance could show up as a data dependency but cautious approach to rate cuts, waiting for durable evidence of disinflation before easing. If we can put if interest rate at 2%, we will see a boom in investments. We will see companies coming in here, building data centers, building factories, building more houses, right? And hopefully there will be no regulations in from these cities and towns, right? Policies that limits expansions. So there is a good way to go about this, all right? His regulatory and financial stability stance. Um, Warsh's background suggests he will take financial stability seriously, particularly the risks from excessive leverage, opaque shadow banking activities, and concentration in key financial sectors. He is likely to support macroprudential tools and targeted regulations to address systemic risks while being mindful not hamstring legitimate market activity. He may favor higher resilience standards for systemically important institutions and stronger oversight of non-bank bank financial intermediation. Expect and emphasize on better coordination with the other regulators and improved stress testing regimes. Pretty fascinating, right? Um, is it that realistic? Do we expect him to do that? Do we expect him to, you know, when it comes to policies and regulations, will he favor non-banking risks from excessive leverage, shadow banking activities? Will he favor financial industries, the banks, right? Um, High resiliency. We need resiliency, especially in the institutions, right? So we need that in every single institution, is in every single, honestly, in every single leader should be able to emphasize on this, right? And this will be also testing the stress testing regimes, right? He needs to have a better coordination with other regulators. This is very, very important, especially in what we see in cities, San Francisco, Los Angeles, every single city in the United States. It's going to be even a major blow if he become nowadays being nominated. It's going to be a major blow if we have uh, more Democrats in power who are going to pass very excessive regulations. So we can have better policies, low interest rate. Corporations might build and build and build. Investors might build, invest more, but then Democrats might try to restrict the expansions, put more regulations, right? Um, that would be a huge problem. That would be a problem that needs to be addressed. So that's why I emphasize more on his coordination with the policymakers. His communication style, of course, needs to be more transparency, and I think that a wash fed would probably emphasize clear, more rule-influenced communication. He is likely to lean on forward guidance calibrated to policy thresholds and economic outcomes, and place high value on transparency to reduce market uncertainty. That said, he may avoid overly rigid promises. Well, I guess not under Trump. I was going to avoid over promises if um, if he wants to, keep in touch with the policymakers and politicians. This is very complicated. It's very hard. Preserving flexibility to respond to shocks. Right? We see shocks in 2020 during COVID. We have a shock. Now, I don't know if we have a shock of the AI influence, but we do have a shock for the oil crisis, stock market shock, right? And when Trump passed um, laid off federal workers, also signed executive orders to release those tariffs back in 2025, there was a shock in the economy. We also saw the the Trump attack on Iran on March 28th. We see another shock on the economy. These were very small, but very vital when it comes to Federal Reserve Bank. For example, now the CPI is up because more people are spending money on gas. I'm feeling it. I'm spending more money on gas than on food, than on anything else. So very problematic here. Political dynamics and Senate confirmation. This happens recently. The nomination process will test to Warsh politically his ties to Wall Street, which is very important, and the prior service in the Republican Party or Republican administrations could draw scrutiny from progressive lawmakers who worry about regulatory capture and prioritization of financial sector interests. Donald Trump did an amazing job. Honestly, I give him credit for this. In his administration, he has nominated only the Republican Party nominees in the Supreme Court. Now he has the Republican Party Federal Reserve Bank chair in the power. So even if we have a president who is a Democrat, and you have a president, have a Senate who are majority Democrats, now Republicans have the most power in the most key areas, right? And this is very problematic. It could create mistrust, could create misunderstanding between these political parties. All right. Um, this could draw a scrutiny from progressive lawmakers who worry about regulatory capture and prioritization of financial sector interests. These policymakers, obviously, the progressiveness. It could also be the progressive economists. Then conversely, Republican parties and market-oriented Democrats may praise his market experience on crisis and management background. Obviously, he has more. I mean, if he was a governor in 2000, this dude knows how to handle crisis much more better than anyone else. Confirmation outcomes could hinge on broader political dynamics, Senate composition, recent economic performance, and how Walsh addresses concerns in hearings. Expect intense questioning on inflation, financial stability, Fed independence, and past policy decisions during financial crisis. So it's already been nominated already, so it's not a big deal already. So we already know, all right? Um, this is very important. What the market and the economic implications. The markets will price Wash's nomination based on a perceived hawkishness or dovishness and expect path of interest rates. If investors view him as likely to keep rates higher, longer bond yields could rise, and equity valuations, especially of high growth firms, this is like JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, reliant on low rates, could fall. Banks, very important here, banks might respond favorably if war signals problematic regulatory clarity. Internationally, a more hawkish Fed can strengthen the dollar, tightening global financial conditions and pressuring emerging markets with dollar-dominated debt. Conversely, If Warsh emphasizes stability and clear communication, he could reduce volatility by setting predictable policy paths. Right? So all of this sounds great, sounds good. Like this is speculations. This is what he has done. We are basing on his past performance, and we have a pretty positive outcome of him. But what are the challenges he could face? This is very, very important, right? Uncertainty remain. How will Wash handle unanticipated shocks, geopolitical events, sharp supply shocks, like do we see the supply chain, a banking crisis, right? Will he successfully balance inflation control with avoiding unnecessary financial stress? How will his Fed interact with the Treasury and Congress on issues requiring joint action? Staffing and broader board composition will shape his effectiveness, and this operation and political constraint will define what he can accomplish for sure. Um, I'll end this with keynote here. Kevin Walsh brings a market experience, crisis era Fed exposure, and a policy stance that balances price stability with financial markets awareness. His tenure could mean clear communication, a cautious approach to easing, which I know he hates quantitative easing, and focused effort on financial stability and macroprudential tools. The coming confirmation process and clear decision will reveal how theory translates into practice. And hopefully the lawmakers and the markets and the public react will show his strength and his power. So that's pretty much all I have to say about this new guy who's coming up and this chair. I think he probably will be, he will help me and his administration. I will have a good job, I will have a house, my family will have a good time, and in the next 40, 30, 40 years, I will probably have a chance to pull up with my vehicle like this at one of my favorite restaurants, kebab, shish kebab, and probably enjoy a good meal, right? I will be able to go in there and purchase um, food that is cheaper, right? These guys, you can see the restaurant is pretty empty. Every time I come here, it's empty. So I am sure people are not they are not eating out, and it has to do with the inflation, high prices, uncertainty, political dynamics. Also, these guys are muted for their privacy. I don't think they consent to be recorded. But if you're not coming for this restaurant, just make sure you can come and enjoy their food. It costs around $13 to do a buffet and $8 for takeout. So very good food. Also, I already signed the sign says that the food comes from Pakistan and India. I believe is it Pakistan or Afghanistan that they are by the same country. I think it's Pakistan. They are the same people, just were divided by the political and Western colonial whatever. But anyways, I came here to grab some food. It was a really good place to come in, get some do some takeout, and that's all for today. And hope you enjoy this video. Hope you enjoy me doing a voiceover. I am practicing this. I found it to be very interesting, to be pretty good. I'm trying to work on my editing skills. My camera is really weird. My glasses are moving out just because my head is moving out. I also checked out some soda. They have some beautiful soda here, like this Favor Treat. These are like traditional drinks. This green drink, Manson Perry, whatever that is, this is actually pretty good. This is like ginger, whatever. This treats you and gives you some good food. The guy was asking me, "Do you need a drink?" I was like, "Nah, just checking out some drinks." Then I worked out like that, and that was pretty much it. For now, I'm about to eat and go to bed because it's at night here. Thanks for watching. Like always, take care and have a good time. I mean, have a good night if you're sleeping. And like always, ciao ciao. Bye bye. Spasiba. The food is good. You can see the food. I don't know if you can see my camera can see it. I tried to film it, but I'm not that good at. We can see the food right now. See the chicken and the vegetable. Like it's pretty good. I don't know what kind of ingredients they use, but it's really good. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, uh, thanks for watching. Like always, bye bye, ciao ciao, adios, spasiba, and take care. Bye.